Next up on this 66 Corvette is the rear suspension. I've got a RideTech suspension kit for it. I've already opened the box as I had to get some of the parts out, but it comes with a new upper cross member, strut rod mount, new strut rods, a couple of boxes of various nuts and bolts and hardware. Comes with the coilover shock absorbers, and it comes with new trailing arms. Here's the instructions for it. Trailing arms are over here. Like I said, I already took them out of the box because I had to rebuild the hubs and put those assemblies together before it can go back under the car. I've got Wilwood brake calipers for it, and I've rebuilt the differential. Now you can see a separate video on rebuilding this differential and also a separate video on rebuilding these hubs. I've got all new bearings in all of them, and seals, and some new gears in the differential. So you might want to check those out. But today I'm going to be getting all of these parts under the frame here. This thing is symmetrical. There's no right or left side to it. Now I've got to thread one of these studs up into the mount right here, one on each side. It needs to be threaded up about 3/4 of an inch, so I put some tape on here, marking off about 3/4 of an inch. Need some Loctite on it. And they supply the Loctite in the kit. Okay, these nuts will get torqued to 50 foot-pounds. Okay, now it gets an isolator ring and this retaining plate goes right up there, another flat washer, and this is a lock nut. And this will get torqued to 50 foot-pounds also. Okay, now I can get this front mount installed. Now I'm installing this strut rod bracket with the long flat side towards the rear of the car. These trailing arm assemblies are going to be next. These little bushings go right in there, one on each side. I'm going to put a little dab of grease on here to try and help keep them in place so they're not falling out when I'm sliding them in there. The kit comes with a whole box full of shims that go in here to align this properly, get it spaced properly. So I'm just going to start. Now they tell you in the instructions to put the same amount of shims you had in your old one, but I didn't even pay any attention to that because I'm going to be aligning this again anyway. So I'm just going to put an equal number of shims on both sides to start with, and then I'll fine tune it when I do the alignment. This is the lower shock mount. It bolts right down here. And there's 3 holes here. You start with the lower 2 holes. And the 3rd hole allows you to increase the ride height by 1 inch if the car ends up setting too low. But these just bolt into place right here. First thing I got to do to assemble these coilovers, you move this little adjusting knob, and let's see, then one of these goes on, this goes on, this little retaining clip goes on here. Just like that. I can put this back on. And for adjustment, turn it all the way to the right clockwise, and that's the firmest setting. And then I think there's 20 or a little over 20 settings, but if you back it off 12 clicks, that's supposed to get you pretty close for street use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So that'll be a good starting point. Another Delrin washer, and this thing here. And I'm going to put a little anti-seize on the threads right down here, close to where it's going to start making contact with the spring. That'll keep those threads from galling up when I start putting a lot of pressure on it. And once final adjustment gets made for my ride height, this little screw right here gets tightened up to lock it in place. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up a little bit now. I still want it to turn, but I want it to be a little snug so that no chance of this thing trying to come off of those threads. I'll just put a little preload on by hand. Okay, that's pretty good. That's all there is to the assembly of that. And then it's got these little aluminum collars that go in the joints right here, and then it'll go in the frame and a bolt will go through there. And the adjusting valve knob goes in towards the inside of the car. A couple of these little collars in there, spacers, and it goes right up in here. Got new U-joints in these guys. I'm ready to put the rotors and the brake calipers on now, but before I do that, I did a little quick and dirty alignment. I established a center line through the frame using this hole in this cross member here, which is equidistant from both sides. And you can see I've got a string attached there going to the front. And I've got it coming right through the center of this hole, which is equidistant from both sides of the frame. And then what I did is take this long straight edge and attach it right to the, or not attach it, but lay it right up against the rear axle here. And then I can measure from the edge of the straight edge over to the string and get it reasonably straight, reasonably parallel. And I've already done that and adjusted my shims here such that this came into a line pretty darn close. I mean, it's not going to be exact, but it at least gets it right in the ballpark. I'm just putting this on here, these nuts on here to kind of pull this up tight while I put the caliper on. Before I put the brake calipers on, I've got a new parking brake cable that I've got to make the attachment here and on the other side because the caliper is going to hide that area. I won't be able to get into it. These Wilwood brake calipers came with the bolts. You got to put 2 washers on there, otherwise the end of the bolt's going to hit the rotor. I just put this little flexible brake line on there, and I think that completes the installation of this rear suspension. Again, like the front, and by the way, I did a separate video already of the front suspension installation. You can check it out, but just like it, all these RideTech products seem to be very high quality, and it all went together very nicely. So keep following my videos as I put this car together. Soon I'll be dropping an engine and transmission in it,